So SpookLoopz, one of the goats in the community, just dropped a bombshell, a truth shell, I should say, and just really reigniting and like reopening a very important topic that I feel like was not getting enough conversation, even though there were some smaller creators that already have made a couple of videos on it. I feel like since SpookLoopz is kind of a much more known name and larger creator, obviously this will gain a lot more traction. A lot of people have already done reaction videos and like responses to it, so I kind of just wanted to keep the conversation going because again I feel like it is very important to talk about, quite frankly, and that is, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, is killer anxiety. And I will link the original video in the pinned comment down below, so if you haven't seen it already, go ahead and give it a watch, form your own opinions. Don't let the YouTube masses dictate what you think. But yeah, I really just wanted, again, to just talk about killer anxiety, what it is, how it affects, newer players especially, I feel like, as we have been getting a lot more prominent, chapters and licenses, killer licenses, right? So, think of your Five Nights at Freddy's, think of Jason, even back then when we got Myers, Freddy Krueger, Pig from Saw, just like these very big name, especially Stranger Things and Resident Evil, like these big name licenses, right, obviously attracts a brand new portion of the player base, and in turn brings a whole lot new killers into the fog. And when you get a new player base, I feel like this game, I think it kind of goes down to tutorial, right? Like first it goes off to the tutorial of it like not being that well like designed and not really that intuitive, just because killers have so many different unique powers and systems and things that you got to keep track of. But then for a new killer specifically, it's very overwhelming. And I am not a new killer by any means. I kind of play both sides. Actually, I want to get this disclaimer out of the way first. Don't take this as like mental health advice or like professional medical advice, right? This is not to be taken like that at all. And if you do have a serious medical condition, please see professional help. This is just for entertainment purposes only. But anyway, back to the video. Even though I am not a new killer, I don't own all the licenses. I actually I still need a couple to get, and so I'm new in the sense that I have never played like Chucky before. I didn't get Springtrap in release. I never played Springtrap or Dracula, right? So I'm new in that sense, where like I understand the macro fundamentals that all killers follow, of just like defending the gens, patrolling, balancing out and spacing out your hooks, and things like that. I don't know specifically like the tips and tricks that a blight player might know, like a seasoned blight player might know, and that creates a form of anxiety that I feel to my core, and which I really resonated with what SpookLoopz was saying in his video. And like one of the points was just being the not ambassador, being responsible for everyone else's fun. I feel like if you have played killer, you feel that to your core, right? I am hoping and I would love to think that most of the community thinks about the other side's enjoyment at least a little bit, right? Especially, again, if you have already played both sides. And since I have played majority survivor, when I do play killer, I try to space out the hooks because I want to make sure that everyone is having a good time. But then you get this overwhelming feeling of like pressure. You get this feeling of like, okay, I have been just focused on this Dwight for like the majority of the match. He probably feels like singled out and targeted, when in reality he's most likely the only one that I have been seeing in the whole game, because like his teammates have just been hiding, right? It's things like that. It's that pressure that you get, and then that pressure then amplifies when you are learning a killer. So the anxiety goes up more and more because you are now practicing with a tool that you have no experience practicing with. And so when you combine those two things, it creates such an uncomfortable experience that you start having anxiety. You start feeling like when the match is done, like your armpits are sweaty, or like you've noticed your leg was shaking, or your hands are like a little trembly. And it's just things like that of just like, oh my god, I need to take a breath. Like, why am I having this feeling in a video game? And obviously the common argument, or counter argument I should say, is again, it's just a video game. Go touch grass. It's not a big deal. But in reality, if you think about it, it is a big deal, because if more and more killers are feeling this sense of anxiety and dread when every time you're queuing up to go against a new group of survivors, you might get just not a lot of killers to queue up, and then the survivor side suffer of that, of course, because there are not really enough killers to go around. Obviously it's a 1v4 game, right? So if you're missing the one that's kind of responsible for everyone else's enjoyment, that's kind of a big deal. And I feel like I try to see both perspectives when like balance, and patches come out, because even though I do mainly play Survivor, I do see most killers' point of view. So like when a very big controversial like instance happened in the community, when they made a base kit borrow time and then base kit 10% haste after you get unhooked, and people were saying like, oh, this is gonna ruin the game, this is such a Survivor sided game, so on and so forth. And then you're seeing it a little bit in the other way too, of just like Jason got out, released, and people in the beginning were saying he was overpowered and there's nothing we can do against Jason except for crouching, and then it's just impossible to like cleanse totem if he's running like Ruin Undying and like a hex build on like what do you do against Jason, and like they were calling for nerfs, and then survivors are saying that it's killer sided. So my point in saying all of that is like the game is designed obviously to have a us versus them mentality, right? It's very tribalistic, very just like I'm in the in group, you are in the out group, I do not care about you. So maybe it needs to come down to the case of like the devs to do better incentives for survivors to play killer and then for killer to play survivor. I do find that when I play survivor, I'm really just relaxed. I play 99.9% solo queue, and I'm pretty relaxed. I make up 25% of the team, and granted that's a pretty big amount, but in the grand scheme of things, I have something to like fall back on when things go south, right? And when you are killer, when you're playing killer, everything is your fault. And the way the toxicity works in Dead by Daylight is once you start screwing up and the survivors see that, and that goes back to the point of like, if you are not an experienced killer, like if you are picking up, I don't know, nurse for the first time, and the survivors see that you're a baby nurse, they're gonna start trolling you. Find me a game where like a group, especially if they're a Swift, find me a group where they're not gonna start trolling the nurse, bro. Like it's going to happen 20 times out of 10, and they're gonna like, that power you feel of being the killer, like being in control, like completely is like evaporated as soon as the survivors do not see you as a threat anymore, right? And that I don't want to get like too into the immersive conversation, because then I feel like it gets into like cringy territory where it's like, I'm the killer and I need to feel like strong and in control all the time, and it's not like that. But it does suck when you are like supposed to be the power role and your power is stripped away, right? That's such a shitty feeling. And it feels like you're useless and you're helpless, right? So you're going back to the nurse example, where you're trying to play nurse, you're getting bored of playing, Myers or Trapper or whoever you main, right? You want to try someone new, and you're just getting absolutely destroyed and stomped every match. It doesn't create a rewarding feeling. I mean, like, sure, when you're learning a new skill, you have to learn sometimes trial by fire. For DBD, like going through trial by fire is such a horrible experience again, because you don't feel like you're doing anything or you're gaining anything of use, and you're not gaining any new skills of like, I'm getting better at nurse until like maybe after your 100th game, right? It could very easily be like 100 games later and you're still pretty bad at nurse, because again, that goes into the randomization of DBD. I'm not really going to get too much into it. I already made a video on it. You can check it out either in the end screen or I'll have it listed up here. But yeah, go ahead and check that video out if you haven't already. But yeah, going all the way back again to what the original point of this video is, I'm glad we're addressing it. I'm glad we're having these conversations. I'm glad that people are speaking up. Surprisingly, I haven't seen a lot of Survivor main-esque YouTubers talk about this. I've seen a lot of obviously killer main YouTubers talk about it, or people again who at least speak both sides, and I feel like the ones that do speak both sides, or the ones that do play both sides, are the ones that have the most to say about this, because it's probably like just this buried feeling that one has after just going through something for so long. And it's refreshing and it's rewarding to experience other people, you know, speaking up and like sharing their same experiences, and it feels validating, right? Again, the counter argument of like, go touch grass, it's a video game. I mean, I don't want to entirely discredit that. Of course, if you are starting to not enjoy the game that you're using to pass your free time, chances are you probably shouldn't like play it anymore. You probably should like move on to another game, or just like take a break at the very least, right? But I don't like using that counter argument, because again, it kind of just takes away from the overall point of having the conversation in the first place. Like if my problem is, hey, I'm getting anxiety every time I queue up as killer, the solution shouldn't be stop playing the game. Right? Like, that, to be quite frank, that's just not helpful at all for like anybody. And I think Scott was like one of the first people I saw that like made that point of just like, if you hear someone have that counter argument, it's pretty lazy. And I would have to agree, it is kind of a lazy counter argument to have. I don't really know how to fix it per se, killer anxiety, because this game is, you know, as it being such a live service game, there are changes happening all the time. And this, you know, this video can be like completely random and obsolete in like even 3 months time, where in like they buff killer again, and now we're gonna talk about survivor anxiety, right? But yeah, those are just kind of my 2 cents. I wanted to kind of a short video today. I just, again, wanted to throw my, you know, point in the conversation, keep the conversation going, because I love that we're having these kind of conversations within the community. I think it's really important. And if you guys have experienced something similar, please leave a comment down below. You know, go ahead. I love reading your guys' experiences, or feedback for that matter. So I know, again, for myself, I definitely have felt killer anxiety. I've definitely have felt like it's just, whoa, way too much all the time, because you are handling so much at all points, you know, throughout the game. And it kind of discourages me from trying out new killers, right? So that's kind of why also I don't really have the full roster unlocked, because, you know, I already get kind of stressed out enough from the people that I already know how to play, right? So it's difficult to go through that like almost humiliation ritual from a newer character, because, you know, the MMR is just fucked, right? So again, those are my 2 cents. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead, give it a like, comment down below again your experiences, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care, guys.